amazing. So thank you so much for joining me today. I am so incredibly excited to spend the next little bit with you teaching you how to make ChatGPT sound like you. Just by like a show of hands or drop in the comments, I don't know how many of you have been scrolling social media or gotten an email lately and looked at it and been like, wow, I can tell that you did not actually write that. Like someone was using an AI tool to write that post or that email. Has anyone had that experience recently with social media or email at all?
Pretty much my entire Facebook feed.
Right. Yeah, it gets pretty ridiculous. And I spend more time on LinkedIn. I've been seeing it a lot on LinkedIn, which is kind of what prompted me to create this workshop because I was getting so mad at some of the content that was being put out there. So today, the purpose of this workshop is we're going to make a ChatGPT tool that sounds like you. So that way you're able to leverage these language model tools that are out there without sounding like literally everybody else on the internet right now. I need to figure out how to advance these slides on this. I'm using a new tool.
Yeah, ChatGPT always makes me sound like a teenage girl.
Right. Yeah. I think I called it a 20-year-old influencer is how I phrased it in one of my posts. So before we kick off with the actual content, it is so nice to meet you. Welcome. If you have not met me yet, my name is Stephanie DeSonier. I am a business sales and production strategist, which means that I help business owners understand how to tie their marketing and their company resources in order to hit their revenue goals. And my background is I am currently the deputy director for a local nonprofit, the Covation Center, who is hosting this workshop today. We are focused on helping small businesses create these sustainable and profitable operations. We do that through a variety of things. But one of my passions over the past 2 years has been in helping business owners learn how to incorporate AI and automations into their daily work to free up more time and make more money. We're trying to do so much more with so much less these days, right? Between inflation and everything going on. And so I have enjoyed learning about these AI tools so that I can teach you all how to implement them in your own businesses without spending hours. And then, of course, what is the Covation Center? So the Covation Center is an entrepreneur resource organization. Essentially, we provide coaching and consulting services to business owners who are looking for more support. We are located in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and we do operate a co-working space here with workspace, private offices, meeting rooms, and a production studio for podcasts and video production. We also host workshops and trainings here at the center and virtually. And so this is one of our virtual workshops. And so what are we going to do today? So first, we are going to learn how to train ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini. The process we're going to use today can be used for all of them, but we're going to train it to match your specific writing style. And this is going to be a hands-on workshop. So if you did not receive the emails about this, if you just kind of hopped on from kind of my last minute invite, what we are going to do is we are going to be pulling some of your content, emails, social media posts, and using that to train our tools to sound more like us. And why do we do this? Really, right? Because this content, if it sounds like you, it sounds more natural, it's going to reflect you to your audience. It's going to be recognizable. And this way you can create high quality content that you can use across platforms without people mistaking you for everyone and their brother out there creating the same thing. So the course or the process for this workshop today is we're going to spend some time just understanding why AI has become so used in content creation and what it looks like now. Next, we're going to look at why customizing this output is so critical, because we can say, well, you want it to sound more like you. You don't want it to sound a robot, but why is that important? Third, we're actually going to start creating a style guide for your writing. So we're going to use ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini to help create a style guide that you will use moving forward. And then we will practice training ChatGPT to match your voice, and then making this a repeatable process before moving on to our wrap up. So why does this matter? Why does it matter if we use AI in general? For me, incorporating AI into our business or operations has really increased our productivity. Like I said, everyone is trying to do more with less. It's harder to hire people. It's harder to cover all of the expenses of overhead as the cost of everything keeps going up. And AI has made some of that so much easier. And I think you'll probably start to figure it out, but this slide deck was actually made with the help of AI. I was able to create all of this in significantly less time than I normally would have spent. I still had to go through and edit it, but you'll see when it comes to some of the images, some of them are a dead giveaway. But I was able to pull this workshop together so much faster. The other reason this is important is because we create consistency. If you have a tool that understands your voice and your style, you're able to create content that is consistent with that across days, across platforms. It makes you more recognizable because even within our own writing, oftentimes, while we tend to have a style or a voice, sometimes that will change depending on the mood we're in. And this allows us to make sure that we are staying consistent with that. And then finally, the engagement. If we're able to create something that sounds like it's coming from you, that resonates with your audience, like the things you say would resonate with your audience, it allows us to continue connecting with our audience on a deeper level. And using AI to create that content frees us up to build the relationships that are developed because of that content, right? AI creates that content, but now you can go in and you have more bandwidth and energy to engage with comments on those posts because you didn't just spend all your energy creating that post. So in a quick poll, raise your hand, unmute, or drop it in the chat. What's one thing that you feel makes your writing style unique? What do you think makes it sound like you? I'll go first. For instance, I love parenthetical statements. I hear that's a trademark of ADHD people, but I will always have a parenthetical statement in something I'm writing. Like there's a second thought that pops in.
That's probably true of me too. I'm not really sure. I never thought about it. What makes my voice unique?
Yeah.
I like to use humor a lot. Um, so I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. But it can also be tiring to like try and be humorous sometimes when you're not feeling it, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a great start. Like, if you're already kind of identifying what makes you sound unique, or, Seth, like you said, you don't want to sound like a 20-year-old influencer with using AI, right? That's not your sound, right? So you probably, maybe you have longer sentence structure. You don't use emojis.
I think I tend to be pretty genuine. Like I'll just put it all out there.
Yeah. Very, very honest, very open.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. And those are all great, unique styles. And, being able to continue to capture that is what helps us build that presence online. It's what helps us move people to becoming part of, our super fans, our big audience. And so that's why these generic AI outputs are such a challenge, right? They are so bland. They lack personality. They lack creativity. Everything is elevate your business, or this is going to be game changing, or, there's a rocket ship emoji next to everything, literally everything. I can pick out an AI written post in a heartbeat because of the structure of it. It's so standardized. And it's robotic, right? It doesn't have a natural flow. It feels very abrupt, very specific. I really do think they trained it on like Twitter for the most part because of the way it creates content a lot of times. It really loves short form. It really loves like big, impactful sentences that maybe don't, match if you're trying to go for more of an emotional connection, or if you're more of a storyteller. It really struggles with that. And it can be overly formal. It does feel very stiff and difficult to read. Sometimes it'll use words that nobody uses in normal conversation. And you look at that and you're like, I don't even know why my chat GPT would think that this sounds normal. And so the generic output, it starts to alienate our audience, right? They scroll over it because it doesn't match who you are. It doesn't match what your brand is, and it doesn't match what they're expecting as they're connecting on social media. So we're going to start here with some examples of bland output. Now, I tried to block out some of the organizations on here to protect the innocent, but this was 5 minutes of scrolling LinkedIn last night, and these are some posts I found. Oh, that one's like all kinds of wonky. I meant to fix that. Well, we'll scroll past that one real fast. So here's one. ChatGPT. It is a trademark of it. Attention, whatever, with a rocket ship emoji or a microphone, right? Ask the question. Gives, the event information. That's great. But then it's, don't miss this opportunity. Things like that. I'm looking at this and I'm like, nothing about this organization and I know them, nothing about this sounds like them. I could substitute any other competing organization and it would sound like them. Let me see if I can go back up to the previous one. I don't know if I can. Okay. Here's the next one. Ready to elevate your career. Join our live session on this. Gain expertise. This will take you further. Spots are limited, don't miss out. Again, very standard. Elevate is always a trigger word for me. That's very clear, but it's always, ChatGPT always has like that hook, but it doesn't feel natural. Okay, this skipped 2 slides, so we're going to try and figure out how to go back. Hold on. I love tech, except when it doesn't work quite right for me. Here we go. This one, again, the picture is hard to see, but they use ChatGPT. So like an alert, here's a webinar. They forgot to put in their event dates and where the event was going to be. They just copied and pasted straight from what ChatGPT gave them without updating anything and posted it on social media. And again, one of those things where people are using it and they're just not even paying attention to what they're doing. So not only does it sound generic, they don't even actually have the actual details. And it's about using AI for recruitment and they didn't even use it correctly. So, those kind of things.
Wonder how much that marketing manager is getting paid to make those posts.
Right, exactly. Here's another one, right? The megaphone calling all whatevers. We did this again. I didn't black this out. You can go look at the Pennsylvania Small Business Development Center. But my point is, this looks almost exactly like the previous event announcement, right? Those were 2 different organizations, but we could have copy and pasted for any of them. And then the fact that down here, it has the word hashtag, and then it tells them hashtag. Again, not only does this sound standardized and very generic, but when you don't train your AI correctly, you end up with a lot of things that come across as making it very clear that you aren't checking it, you aren't editing it. And so that's another thing we're working to avoid in this. And then this was another one, ready to elevate your career. So it feels off because it lacks those nuances and that personality that makes it feel genuine. And the importance of a consistent voice is that brand recognition. I want to be able to go online. One of my favorite brands is Hello Social, social media company out in Bellefonte. And I can recognize one of their posts before I even look at who posted it because they have such a very clear way of engaging their audience, of asking questions, of telling a story. And so I immediately respect what they're saying because I trust them. I followed them for years. I know they know what they're talking about. And they may be using AI, they may not. I don't know. But if they do, they've trained it very well on their voice. So I continue to respect what they're putting out there. When it comes to brand recognition, all of us have a brand, whether we have a business or whether we're working inside a business. But even internal to an organization, you as a person have a brand too. You have a voice, you have a tone. And if you're writing outside of that tone and voice, people notice it. They'll know it's not coming from you. This is going to go back to like college, but in college, we used to think we were clever with, we'd change a couple words in a sentence when we were trying to crank out a paper really fast. And like looking back, those professors knew. They're like, that's not the kind of words you would use. That's not the kind of sentence structure you've used in anything. Like you were really skirting the edge of plagiarism there. So it's not even just in ChatGPT, but how we communicate really does need to be consistent. People notice patterns. People notice trends. When my husband's texting me, I recognize his tones and things, and I recognize if his use of words changed, I can tell what mood he's in. So that's why this becomes important. And of course, ultimately, personality-driven content is what drives the internet these days. If you have something generic sounding, nobody's going to connect with it. If I sound like any other AI coach out there, people are going to skim over it because they can get that same information from anyone. people aren't necessarily connecting with our brands because of what we do. People are connecting with our brands because of who we are and how we show up. And if we start showing up the same as every other AI coach out there, as every other website developer out there, as every other therapist up there, it's not going to resonate. And there's no reason for someone to say, oh, that's the person I want helping me or guiding me or working on a project with me. And of course, we also have different writing styles depending on what we're doing. So for me, my emails are very different from how I write my Facebook posts, and my Facebook posts are very different from my LinkedIn or my Instagram. And so part of the point of this project as well is to actually create style guides for the different platforms we're going to use. We're not going to create a style guide and then all of a sudden your emails are the same as your Facebook posts are the same as your Instagram captions, because that won't work, right? The words don't resonate across all platforms the same. And so we want to be able to understand how each of these platforms works for you, how you sound on each of these platforms, and create tools to train these AIs to create content that sounds like you depending on each individual platform. This image on the right, by the way, is a great example of an AI generated image. I don't know what this little circle with a line through it is on the second row, and Twitter really went wonky, or TikTok, I mean.
That is the bottom of an iPhone.
Oh, is it?
I'm assuming that's what it
I
looks
don't.
like, or an iPad or something.
And we're going with like German words here. I don't know. It did real, it tried so hard. Um, Generative AI is getting there with graphics, but it's not yet completely. So my first question for all of you is, how do you shift your tone for different platforms? Do you notice that you write differently on Facebook versus email?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Facebook is, I don't know. I don't like spending much time, so mine's usually just hammered out, but probably more trying to sound pitchy in Facebook,
oh yeah,
trying to create hooks.
more like stream of thought kind of deal.
Like, don't miss this class.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
I'm more professional in email than I am on social media as far as the wording.
yeah. Although, I mean, that would be weird to write professionally on Facebook too, I feel. Yeah, so, one of the things we want to keep in mind is, how does your tone change or shift depending on how you're writing? And I'll show you guys this in a little bit, but also, how does your tone change depending on if it's an internal versus an external communication? I have a style guide for emails that I'm sending one-on-one to partners and collaborators, and I have a style guide for marketing emails because I talk very differently in both of those. So even being aware of how your tone shifts internal to a platform. So our first like little hands-on thing we're going to do today is, I want you to open up a Google Doc or a physical notebook on your desk, and I want you to write down your main communication platforms and the tone you're aiming for in each. And so we're just going to take like 2 minutes. I'm going to mute my microphone, but think about the platforms that you would like to use ChatGPT for, and think about the tone or the voice that you're looking to use on each of those. So at 2:22, we will come back on this. Okay. So we'll go ahead and come on back. So just by like a show of hands or emoji thing. So who here is going to be working on their email voice today? Okay, got some emails there. How about Facebook? Okay, also some Facebook. Awesome. Anyone doing LinkedIn? Yeah, Chris, I'm assuming you're still doing LinkedIn, or your hand's just up from from the first one.
Yes, LinkedIn.
Okay, yeah, awesome. So I would love to hear from everyone. Pick one platform and share how you've kind of described your tone that you're looking for on that platform. Chris, let's start with you, since you're apparently doing a bunch.
Um, for email, I think I'd like to stick it, keep it professional, um, as opposed to the other platforms.
Okay, yeah, great. Ella, how about you? I don't know if you can unmute, but feel free to drop it in the chat. What's one of the platforms you're looking to use this with, and what tone do you shoot for? Email, formal, and professional. Okay, great. Yeah, so a couple emails. Seth, how about you?
Well, with Facebook and Instagram, I have my Instagram post too. My Facebooks, so they're usually the same, but I try to keep it casual, genuine, informative. Well, can add some humor and usually trying to find a way to tell a story with it.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah, the storytelling aspect. I actually, for my Facebook, I had storytelling as well. So very cool. Great. So then, there we go. Yeah, this is just an example of, some of the ones that I use. So email, professional, concise. I'm very concise and direct. It drives people nuts, but that's how I write. Instagram captions. So mine is I try to keep them shorter and engaging. And so obviously understanding our existing writing style is the very first step on doing this. And so we've all described our tone or our writing style, but it's still very broad, right? So Ella and Chris both said, they want to keep their email professional, but what does professional sound like from each of you? It probably sounds very different. You guys probably use very different words in how you communicate. What is your sentence structure, right? Do you write in longer sentences with more technical words? Do you write in shorter sentences with some simpler words because of who your audience is? And how does that impact it? Because even if we say, I want you to do this in a professional, a professional writing, so it's a little more formal, we're still going to get something that's not quite your voice. And this is all stuff we just covered. Yeah, so how is the pacing too? For instance, in mine, my pacing, I tend to do a lot of line breaks. So we want to make sure we catch things like that. Do I write long paragraphs, or do you write shorter 2-sentence paragraphs with line breaks to make it easier to read? Again, that formatting is going to have an impact. And so next, we're going to review your existing content to uncover your natural writing style. So for this next exercise, what I would like you to do is open up a Word doc or a Google Doc or some sort of digital file where we can start copying and pasting some content. I had this written for emails, but this is going to work for Facebook posts or Instagram captions as well. What I want you to do is in this next exercise, we're going to go through our sent inbox and our emails, or we're going to go through our Facebook posts. And I want you to find specific things you've written that you feel are really sound like you, that's how you want to come across, you feel like they're very well done, or things that have resonated with people. And what we're going to do then is we're going to take that and we're going to copy and paste those into a document. And so just to give you all an example, I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quick and switch. Here's an example of a sales email that I had that I felt captured my style of writing very well. Like I said, I do a lot of line breaks. You see, I do a lot of storytelling. And so what we're going to do is you're going to go find, I want you to get at least 3 examples of writing. whether it's an email or Facebook post, and I want you to copy and paste them all into some sort of document together. So we're going to take about 4 or 5 minutes. So we're going to go to 2:30 to give you time to go find some documents, find some emails or posts, and copy them into a Google Doc or Word doc or whatever. Okay. Is everyone able to find a couple samples of their writing that you feel pretty confident in using? Yeah. Okay. So next we're going to move on to identifying common elements. Now we could do this ourselves, but I don't know about you all. I don't have a background in writing, about examining writing critically. I can write okay, but I cannot tell you why. So what we're going to do is we are actually going to go into ChatGPT or your tool of choice. So can you all see my ChatGPT now? Okay. So what you're going to do is we are going to first tell ChatGPT what we want it to do. So I always start by explaining what this tool's role is, who it's going to be and what I want it to do. So we'll start with, you are a well, actually, I'm using an email as an example. So you are a digital expert who specializes in sales emails companies. Now, this feels like a lot, but I really want to make sure it has full context of who I am. Now, my ChatGPT is trained on me a little bit, so it's going to understand this. But oftentimes, if you haven't been training your tool, it's not going to know. So really outlining what you want it to be doing becomes very helpful. So the next thing we're going to say is what we're going to provide it and what we want it to do. So I am going to provide you with samples of my emails, and I want you to analyze them for my voice tone, and style. So the important thing here is I want to tell it what it's analyzing for. I want it to understand my voice, my style, any specific words I use. I also want to make sure that it's not paying attention to the content, because if I tell it if I don't tell it that, it starts to read the content of what I'm giving it and framing things on that, and that's not what we want. So I do not want you to pay attention to the content of the emails, just my style. And so then what you'll do is you will upload your document, or if you, I think if you have the free version, you might not be able to upload it. So then all we do is you just copy and paste it from that document that you have. So we're gonna grab our information. Let me grab my sales email. So I have attached and uploaded my document to my ChatGPT. Like I said, you can just copy and paste it in, and we're going to upload it. And so now it's going to analyze the sample that I gave it, and it's going to tell me what my writing style is. So I don't have to be an expert in creative writing, in marketing, content writing, anything like that, because it's going to break it down for me. And so it tells you what your voice is, what your tone is, your style, and gives examples that it finds in these emails or the social media content. So I want you to take a minute, go ahead, open up whichever tool you prefer, Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, and upload yours. And then, just drop a comment in the chat and let me know, like, did you feel like it was on the mark of your writing style and how you sound? I'll give you about 2 minutes. Okay, Chris, you said yours was pretty accurate. So what is, did you use ChatGPT?
Yes.
Okay, what did they say your voice was?
Your email style is professional, clear, and customer focused. Then the bullet points, I mean, said warm and personable, direct and efficient, customer oriented, transparent and honest, professional but not stuffy, and solution driven.
Nice. I like the professional but not stuffy. That's very specific. Anyone else got their output?
So yeah, I use ChatGPT. Says heartfelt and personal, encouraging and uplifting, rooted in purpose, and sincere,
Sincere. I like that.
and blending storytelling, faith, and encouragement. So
There you
yeah, it's
go.
pretty accurate.
Nice. And then Ella, her voice friendly and approachable and professional, but not too formal. And I like that. Sometimes we would say professional is also very formal. So the fact that it's calling out that it's, Ella, your version of professionalism is not overly formal, or like Chris's, not stuffy, I guess there. So the next thing we're going to do is we want to go in and actually just copy all this. So you can just do like a copy paste like this, or there's a little copy button at the bottom of ChatGPT, but we're going to copy it. And then we're going to go and we're going to paste this into a new document, because we are going to save this as style guide, marketing emails for me. So it might be style guide, email correspondence, or style guide for Facebook. But every time I analyze for a new thing that I'm writing, I create a different style guide. So this is one I had before. my email style guide for one-on-one communications for the Covation Center. And you can see it was a little bit different. My tone was conversational but professional. I don't focus as much on storytelling because these are one-on-ones. But it also really broke down. Apparently, I have a very specific structure in my one-on-one emails, which I did not realize. And so it was able to identify that. So I have a style guide for those kind of emails, and then I have a style guide for more of my marketing emails as well. And so I encourage you, if you have different ways of using the same tool, doing this multiple times as well and pulling those examples. Sometimes people will do a style guide for sales posts versus a style guide for like audience engagement posts on Facebook. And so now we've created our style guide. So now we're going to use our style guide to teach ChatGPT how to write for you. So we're going to go back into our ChatGPT tool, and we're actually going to create a new chat. And so for this, what I like to do is, again, we're going to start with teaching our ChatGPT who it is, what we want it to do. Now, I'm going to walk you all through how I do this on a free version of ChatGPT, but then I want to show you what we can do with a paid version to make this easier and faster when we go into automating this process. So let's go with my marketing emails. So you are a digital marketer creating emails to promote a new workshop for audience. So what I'm doing is, again, I'm telling it who it is, what it's doing, and then I give it details about the specifics. So I still have to tell it what the workshop's about, what time and date it's going to be on, because I don't want it to create that templated post that gets shared on LinkedIn without specifics. So, I'll spend some time telling it about what the email is going to contain. So this is a workshop on how to create guide rails within your company when it comes to using AI. This workshop will be on March 11th, 12th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Will be held virtually in a Zoom room. Okay, so I told it what I want it to do, what the content of the email should be. Now I'm going to tell it I have attached a style guide to ensure that you write this email in a way to match my voice, style, and tone. So I walk it through who it is, what I want it to do, what the email should contain, and then letting it know what the document is that I'm attaching to it. So I'm going to download this document real quick. Download. I download them as PDFs. I don't know if it makes a difference with ChatGPT. I just feel better about it. But you can download them as a Word document if you need to. Or you could copy and paste the style guide again directly into the chat. That would work as well. So I told it who they are, what the email should contain, and then how I want my writing to sound. And then it's going to draft my first email. So this isn't too bad. Already right off the bat, I don't use em dashes ever. I don't know if anyone has seen the discussions, but apparently em dashes are a immediate giveaway that this was written by AI. I don't like to use them. I do use ellipses though, all the time. So I can see here that it's pretty close. It sounds a bit like me, but there are some things that aren't quite there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back into my style guide. And under the actual style section, I go avoid using em dashes or emojis in the email body. And I'm just going to save and update that. So I'll download a new one. And then I'll just tell it rewrite this email based on the updated style guide I am providing. So I do this to iterate and see what it's creating, if it actually matches what I'm looking for. Oftentimes it'll create that initial style guide that's still missing a few things. They didn't really use a whole lot of emojis besides the little check boxes, which are fine. But I really just wanted to tailor this a bit more. It still uses an M dash. I hate it. So I'm probably just going to edit that sentence manually. And it used the word game changer. So you can see, you can go through and revise these. The first one didn't use game changer. I can get rid of M dashes. The fact that it used game changer here means I'll probably go into my style guide and add a section of like words and phrases not to use. And I'll add that in. So I want you to go ahead, feed, oh, hold on, Chris, is in the name of the style guide should put the name of the business. Yeah, if you have something that's consistent across your, your business name doesn't change, obviously, feel free to go ahead and put your business name in there, and other details that would go into the emails. Oftentimes what I actually will do is I will create a second document with that. So I'll have my my business information document, I'll have my style guide document, and then I actually create a third document a lot of times with my audience profile. So if anyone's interested in like how you would use all of those tools together, let me know, and I can definitely do like a pre-recorded training on those as well. Because using all three of these together becomes very beneficial. So take a minute or two and go ahead and plug in your style guide, ask it to create something for you. And then I would love to have you all share what it made, how you felt about its initial output. So let's give that another 2 or 3 minutes. Oh, I already muted. So let's say 2:46, we'll come back and share what you got ChatGPT to create. Okay, so how did that first piece of content that it put out there sound? Or do we need a couple more minutes?
I'm still trying to get mine to sound like me.
Oh, really? What you also can do is right inside the chat, you can copy and paste directly a post that you think sounds, really close to your voice and telling it, ignore the content, but, focus on the style and tone here.
Hmm. This one's gotten a lot closer, I think. So a lot of times I'll post about classes by just giving the information and saying, here's what it is, come and join me. But I do like that this says, kind of turns it into a story. It says, I've been reflecting a lot on how art has shaped my life. It's more than a skill. It's a way to connect, to pause, and to create something that's uniquely yours. Whether it's something simple or a bit more complex, each piece tells a story, a bit like how we all have our own story to share. And then it goes into more. So I like that it takes a personal thing, brings it in. It's not just selling a class.
Yeah. Yeah. So it really leveraged that storytelling aspect of what you fed into it.
Mhm.
Very cool.
Mine
And
did.
yeah, go ahead,
Sorry,
Chris.
mine did pretty good, except for like it said a couple things that I would never say, and makes me think that a lot of other people that are sending me emails are using AI because it said, "Would you be open to a quick chat?" And I always see that in sales emails, open to a quick chat, and then like I would never say that. And then actionable insights, I've never said those two words together ever in my
Oh,
life.
funny.
So
Doesn't say,
so
would you be open to a quick chat GPT?
yeah.
Then you just have your chat GPT respond to that email, and all of a sudden we've just got it talking to itself across emails. Yeah. Um, and that is one of the things, right? There are going to be phrases where all of a sudden you're like, oh no, that's never anything I would say. And so that's actually why when I do this, I start out with that Google Doc open so I can go in and refine that style document. I was like, oh, hey, these are phrases I would never use. These are words I would never use because it still takes a little bit of tweaking and training. And so I never count that initial style guide as absolutely correct, but going through and testing it and having it create some stuff is a good way to continue to refine that style guide for you. Ella said it sounded mostly like them, just some words they wouldn't use, like intuitive or seamless. Yeah, again, it gets pretty close. Oftentimes what we can do is we can refine that style guide more by adding more emails or social posts. So I just had you guys grab like I think 3 to 5. So it could be that if we had 3 or 4 pages of it, that would work. A lot of the people I work with who do social media content, they have running Google Docs and they'll just feed that into ChatGPT. But at that point, they've got 4, 5, 6 pages of content. So the more content you feed it, the more refined this style guide gets as well. But, it sounds like in initial, we just did what, 10 minutes of actual work, and they got you a lot closer than they would have been before that, right? So it's just a little bit of refining it until you feel like and again, we're not using AI to be 100%. The goal here is to get this content to about an 80 to 90% point. And then we go in, we make those small tweaks, and then we can push it out to our email or our social media. It's never going to be 100%, but it's going to be a lot better than it was. Okay, so we already did that step. Oh, this is another one. Oftentimes, if you get, I don't know how many of you do this, but if you participate in any sort of like collaboration or promotion where they share like swipe files, like emails or social media posts, like, hey, share this with your audience about this, event that you're speaking at or that you're sponsoring. Again, oftentimes, A, they've probably used AI at this point, or B, it's written in their style. And so if I'm supposed to help market something, oftentimes I'll take what they gave me and I'll tell ChatGPT, okay, now I want you to rewrite this in my voice. So I'll customize whatever content they're giving me so that it actually sounds like it's coming from me so that my audience does not realize that it's a copy that I got. Chris asked, how would you tell it to not use a closing like best? That's a great question. First, I would look at the emails that you wrote. How do you typically close your emails? But then under my style guide, let me see if mine has it. Yeah, so under mine, it actually had like a friendly sign off. So I would tell it what I want my sign off to be. So if you want it friendly sign off, professional sign off, it did say standard sign off is best, talk soon. So I would go in here and say, maybe do not use these sign offs if that's in there. I really like negative prompting in ChatGPT. Do not use this, do not use that. It helps get it there a little bit. But what you could do is, under here, put professional sign off, give it an example, and then a standard of how you would prefer to close it, possibly. Did that help, Chris?
Yes.
Awesome. But yeah, again, it just takes a little bit of tweaking. Okay, we already tested that. I am getting ahead of myself here. So the next part is making this a repeatable process. So the easiest way to make this a repeatable process is I have actually created a folder in my Google Drive, in my other Google Drive, so I won't show you that. So I actually have a folder where it's AI tools and prompts. So the folder, inside each folder, it'll have my marketing email. So it'll have my marketing email examples document and my marketing email style guide document. So all of that is grouped together. So it's easy to grab. When you go into your ChatGPT, you can easily upload those files as you're asking it to do something. The best way to make this a repeatable process, honestly, is with the paid version of ChatGPT. If you don't have the paid version, it is just $20 a month. And I think it's really worth it if you are creating a lot of content or needing to create a lot of content and you're really struggling and feeling overwhelmed. And so the way we do that is we can create a custom GPT. And what this is like a little baby ChatGPT that we train, and it remembers things very, very specifically. And so, for instance, I have one that's trained to write blogs. I have one that's trained for surveys that we have to do. In my personal business one, I have ones that are trained for doing annual planning reviews for clients. So what we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through how you would create a custom GPT to do this. So if you have the paid version, this is definitely worth checking out. And if you don't, you can still do it manually, just organizing all your files. So I'm going to create a ChatGPT. And again, this is going to be super easy. I'm going to take it a little slow, but also you are going to get this recording. So if you want to go back and try this out on your own, we can do that. So it's going to start the same as the last thing, right? What do I want to create? I want to create a virtual marketing copywriter. This specialized, I can't spell, in sales, emails, or service-based business. You will be responsible for creating the emails to promote offers and engage our customers. So I'm just telling it in general what I want it to do here. So this is going to give me the ChatGPT uses this to name this nice little custom GPT and to create like a little image, which are the most unimportant parts of this, but we let it do its thing because it makes it happy. Right? Let's choose a name. Sure. Sales Email Pro sounds great. Sounds great. Let's move forward with it. Now over on the right, you'll see it's already starting to build this little custom GPT. And so with no other information, it is making assumptions on what I want it to do and creating prompts. So these are little automatic prompts that it would assume people want to click. Create a re-engagement email, draft a subject line for a limited service offer. We're not going to use those. We want to get more specific. Here's a profile picture. Sure, looks great. Okay, so it thinks it's all ready to go. It is not ready to go. So next I'm going to do, I am going to provide you with samples of my writing. I want you to review this and only write content that matches my style, tone, and voice. Every email should sound as if it were written by me. Okay. So now the next step, unlike our normal GPT where we would go and upload files here, what we're going to do is we're going to head on over to configure. And we're going to get rid of all these conversation starters because they are dumb. But what we're going to do is we're going to upload files into our knowledge base. So this is, these are files that ChatGPT is always going to reference when we're working in this. So when we go to upload files, this is where that style guide would live. And so we're going to put it in there. Let me see if I can find the one for my customers. So this is where, Chris, your question about like your business information, I said, you know, your customer information becomes useful too. This is where I like to put it. So I upload basically every file that gives ChatGPT information about my business, about my audience, about my tone, about how I write. And we upload all of the documents right there. I don't think I downloaded any more of my old ones. So we'll just use this one for now, but you can upload, I don't know, somewhere like 10, 15 documents. I highly recommend doing that. So upload your style guide. Again, any of those example emails or social media content that you would have had, upload that as a document as well. So it has it as a reference. And then I usually just turn off some of these capabilities if I don't need them. I don't need it to do a web search. I don't need it to do image generation. We're going to call it good. So now it is working on creating this. Am I going to share it with people? No, I'm not going to share it with people. But now you have got a tool whose only job is to write emails that sound like they came from you. So we're going to go into this now, and I'm going to ask it to write a sales email. So create an email that is promoting new offer, small business SaaS hub, a membership program, business owners.
So with the advantage of this as composed to the free version is with the free one, you have to upload your document every time. Try to, like, if it's not quite on point, you need to kind of retrain it a little bit. Here, it's in there.
Yep. Yep, with this, so you'll see all my little custom ones are always in the sidebar. I click on this, it knows exactly what its job is, what it's supposed to do. It has that knowledge base, so it's all ingrained right in it. So I don't have to do as much tweaking or retraining every time I need to create something new. Exactly. Because otherwise, you know, we're going through, you know, probably two of these. I mean, we'll have the email style analysis, but we're going to have to restart with the emails again. And here's the style guide. And yeah, that's good. That's close, but not quite what I want. So this makes it a little bit easier. So yeah, let me wrap this up and I'll show you guys an example. So this program is so this is a really probably not the best like prompt for it, but I want to crank something out real quick. So I'm just giving it the idea of some new offer, right? So here's this new offer. I want you to draft an email for it. I mean, it sounds a lot like me right now. So I will give it that. I feel like it's a little bit better than that last one. We're still doing M dashes. Apparently, we're just never going to get away from it. Yeah, see you inside, my name. So this was really great because it captures it a lot faster. And then the nice thing is I don't have to go back into the same chat to keep going. I can, open a new chat with that same sales pro, completely new program, completely new offer, but it's still going to know it. And it's even better once we do, once you get an audience profile uploaded in there, because it'll tailor a lot of this a bit more to who your specific audience is as well, and get a little more guidance on that. Let me, I'm going to pull up my other ChatGPT real quick and show you guys what that looks like. Share this one. So yeah, for instance, I went through a different process to really define the role of this GPT. And I'm creating a training on this, but here I trained it on my voice in just a little like paragraph thing. I didn't like that as much. I really like having my voice in a separate document. But what I do is I create documents that tells it who it is, what it does. So in this one, I'm telling it who its audience is. So it's makers, and its role is marketing funnels, sales page copy, things like that. And here's another, this was the sales tone email that I showed you all that I used. So then in this GPT, let me look at this guy. No, I want to edit it. I've created a ton of GPTs in this one. It's a little ridiculous. Nope, that one did not have it. Oh, I don't think it's going to show me the documents I uploaded in them. Well, that's frustrating because I know I uploaded documents in that guy. So it's not going to show you those, but basically, creating a document for your email tone, creating a document for the audience, getting those all uploaded in there so you can further refine these things. So, this GPT that I built, its entire job is creating Black Friday marketing emails. That's all it does for product-based businesses. And so this is nice because you can get really specialized roles with ChatGPT within your business. It's not these generic sounding things. You can have one that's trained just to create content for LinkedIn or just to create content for Facebook. You can have one whose entire job is not only just to create content for Facebook, but tell you what kind of images to create or use to go along with it. I think this is the one we were in. Yes. Okay. So that's a really easy way to make this a repeatable process, because you can use this process, get the content, get it to analyze your content, and then again, $20 a month, you can create these GPTs. If you're needing to create a lot more emails or social media and you just can't stay on top of it, this is my favorite way to do it. Otherwise, like I said, just creating a folder with the reference documents so that have them easily accessible to go upload them every single time. The other one is save and reuse your best prompts. So as we were doing this, we were seeing that some prompts were maybe a little more effective than others. I'll create a Google document that is just my favorite prompts for getting it to write an email, or getting it to write an outreach email or a thank you email to a new customer, or just your best prompts for promoting an event versus, sharing a new piece of artwork. And so, the more we do this as well, ChatGPT is going to really start recognizing and recalling your voice as we, go into these and refine it. No, please don't ever use game changing. Please don't use elevate your business. It will start remembering that and holding on to it. And again, like we said, when the output feels off, review your prompts and review that style guide and update them and make changes. It's not going to be perfect the first time. We're going to get about 60-70% of the way there the first time, and at the end of it, we're going to be about 90% there. But that 90% makes your job so much easier. And again, obviously keep it fresh, up to date. Keep it up to date. If there's changes, if you're rebranding and you want to come across a little bit differently. Maybe you don't want to do so much storytelling, or maybe Chris decides that he wants to be significantly more casual in his emails because that's what people come to expect. Make sure those style guides are updated so it still sounds like who you are now. We're all always constantly evolving. I don't talk the same way I did 10 years ago. I'm sure most people here probably don't sound the same way they did 10 years ago with the way they write or the way we talk. So, being aware of that. I mean, like, who here has scrolled back on your Facebook posts from 10 years ago and been like, oof, that sounds silly? Just me? Okay. So, I'm actually not going to take a minute for this because I don't know who has a free versus paid version, but, on your own, feel free to take some time to finalize that style guide and create that reusable prompt or that custom ChatGPT that you can use to make this a repeatable process. So now I do want to open it up for some Q&A. If you're working through this, you have some questions, people like to share some challenges you're having with your style guide, with making it sound like you, take this time to help you work through that.
For me, using the what was it that said, add more storytelling elements, and it did a pretty good job of kind of accomplishing what I wanted it to do.
Awesome. Yeah, sometimes it just needs a little extra like push to get in the right direction.
Yeah.
I've noticed mine does, I have it do a lot of storytelling, but it always references someone named Sarah. Whatever my story is about, the main character is Sarah. I don't know why.
That's a fun through line. There's like a whole thing, a whole sub story it might be developing.
Right? We're gonna have a novel about Sarah's adventures someday down the road from all my emails. Chris, Ella, any questions? Anything you want reviewed with this?
I don't have any questions. I was just messing with I have a thing that's kind of like the paid ChatGPT that I was messing with. It's called Odin AI, and I realized that it had this kind of the same features as the paid ChatGPT, where you can have like a knowledge base of documents. So I was just messing around with that to see if it did the same thing as what you were going through. So far, it doesn't. But I think I'm just not using it correctly. But
What was the name of that? You said Odin AI?
yeah, ODIN.
Huh. I have not heard of that one yet, so I'm gonna have to go check that out. I'm always looking for new tools to play with. So, but you said the knowledge base isn't working quite the same.
Well, I'm not sure if it's synced yet or not.
Mhm.
Like I keep checking it and it says it's syncing, but it's been a long time. So I think it's just something I have to mess with. But it seems like I would be able to do those things with it once I figure out how to use it.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I would love to like shoot me an email, report in later, and let me know if it worked the way you wanted it to.
Mhm.
The other thing I will say, we were using ChatGPT today. I have found that sometimes Claude does a better job of imitating my voice. So sometimes what I will do is I will have ChatGPT analyze my voice. I'll take that style guide and I'll take it on over to Claude and have it actually create the content based on my voice. Then it sounds a little bit more casual, a little bit more informal and personable than ChatGPT does. The only challenge with Claude is I don't have the paid version of Claude because I cannot pay for every AI I use. So I get limited on the content and I can't do projects, which is like their version of creating a knowledge base. But if you prefer Claude and the kind of output it has, that's another option. You would just kind of do what we did, but create a project in Claude, upload those reference documents, and have it create the content for you. So that's just an option with one of the other tools out there that you can use to create these things and help it sound a bit more like you. So share your wins. I think we heard a couple. Chris, you were saying you're playing with a new tool to see if it's working. Seth, do you feel like you're like on your way to get some content created and out there faster?
Yeah. I think it was helpful. Because I've done some of this stuff in the past, but it's good to have a style guide and kind of even I didn't realize you could do some of that, like say come up with a style guide for this or pick out these parts and then uh even saying don't use this word or whatever. That's helpful.
Yeah. I think sometimes we forget that we can be pretty firm with our instructions to ChatGPT, right? Like we can say like, no, that's not right. Don't do that. So great. Ella, how about you? How do you feel with some of the content? Do you feel like you've got something that can help you get things written a little faster or a little bit easier now? Great. So Ella said, yeah, it seems like it'll help a lot. Awesome. I'm excited for you to use this and continue on. And, uh, you know, Chris, did we get Odin to work yet, or is it still thinking?
It's still syncing, so it's just something I'm gonna have to mess with later, I think.
Okay. But you feel like you've got some resources here if you want to get AI cranking out stuff faster for you?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like when I was just uploading the documents, as part of the um prompt, it was working. Just now trying to get the knowledge base stuff to work.
Right. Yeah. Great. Well, I'm so glad to hear that this was helpful. I blocked off 2 hours just because I wasn't sure how many questions or help people would want. But also, if you guys feel like you've got a good handle, get started on stuff. Not gonna keep you here longer, but I will be available for the next, 45 minutes or so if anyone has questions or wants me to review their stuff. Um, but otherwise, in the meantime, keep refining, keep updating it, keep making sure, it's sounding the way you want to. And like I said, save and reuse your best prompts. If you find a prompt that gets you what you want, and it does it really well, I always, like I said, I save that in a Google Doc. I just, template it. So if I just need to change dates or the name of a program, I'll pull that stuff out. But if something works well, make sure you save it, make sure you keep it, because I don't know about you guys, but after a while, scrolling through all of this to try and find the specific thing I wanted is a headache, and I hate doing it.
I
So
just
what,
I,
Seth?
I just tried Claude and it definitely sounds a lot more casual and probably a little more like me. Like I took the whole uh social media post that ChatGPT made, put that in Claude. I think I just said make this better. I do that a lot with ChatGPT. Make it
Right.
better. Try it again.
Yeah.
Um, and it does a pretty good job of making it sound less AI, I think, and a little more casual.
Yeah, Claude is definitely better for the things that are more casual, more personable. If you're trying to get something that's a little more professional or formal, like Chris and Ella were talking about their emails, Claude tends to be, or I'm sorry, ChatGPT tends to be a little bit better. If you're looking for something that's definitely more casual, more friendly, more engaging, like a Facebook post or Instagram caption, I've found Claude is more effective. But some of it is just playing around with like I said, using them together. Have ChatGPT do the analysis and then have Claude create the content, or have ChatGPT create a first draft. I use a lot of these tools in conjunction with each other because all of them are better in one area versus another, and just figuring that out. So, that's great that Claude sounds better for you. And, if you're looking at, do I pay for one or the other, for you, Claude might be worth the payment if it does a better job of replicating your voice. So. Awesome. Well, if you are not already subscribed to our email list, I encourage you to scan the QR code to be the first to know about new workshops. I'm constantly working on new trainings for AI and how we can implement these things in our businesses. We've got some really fun trainings coming up. I think I am about to share a training I did on creating an AI video that looks and sounds like you. So we take some of what we did today with ChatGPT, but then we implement it across some other platforms to make a fully automated, you don't actually have to do your hair or put makeup on kind of process for creating videos. So keep an eye out for that. So, if you're not already on our email list, go ahead and join now so you can be the first to know when that training is up. And additionally, the Covation Center is a nonprofit. We are a 501c3. and this workshop and others like it are offered for free thanks to donations from people like you. So even $10 helps. So if you feel so inclined, if you got value out of this, scan the QR code to donate now. Always appreciated, but never required. And then finally, if you enjoyed this, I will also ask if you would be willing to go share your experience on Google or Facebook. Just leave a review, let people know what you thought of our workshops. The easiest way for us to get our name out there is just to have you all share about what you learned or experienced here today.